Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. This is Padma from Nashville, Ramana Satsang. A warm welcome to everyone to our offering on this joyous occasion of 144th Bhagavan Ramana's Jayanthi celebration. Just this September 21st, 2023, we had the centenary celebration of Muruganar Swami meeting Bhagavan for the first time and composing Desigar Padigam. 10 verses extolling Ramana as Sadguru come to Arunachala in the form of Lord Shiva. We begin our offering with a song composed based on Professor K. Swaminathan's translation of Desigar Padigam. This will be presented by Saraswati, Kamakshi, Pratibha, and Usha on violin as a medley in Telugu, Hindi, and Kannada language.
Ramana Manavidinuma Kadalirara O Ramana Ramana Manavidinuma Kadalirara O Ramana Dinudenu na tandri Jnana bhikshani vayya Charana kamalamu nammitini Ramana Manavidinuma Kadalirara O Ramana
Ramana nama japamulu cheya ento nemmade Kori kori cheriti ninnu osaguma saggati Arare nitya satya munidu sannidhi ma pennidhi Shanti pradata gunanidhi Ramana karuna varidhi
Guru hai Ramana Guru hai दूर तुझे मैं आया हूँ तेरे नाम को जपते समय कुछ क्या प्रशांतता हर पग पर पग हो गई माया मन में अशांतता लाई शांति है कुछ आज तेरी परम समीपता थामे हाथ मुझे ले चल गुर सागर सकरुणता गुरुवे रमण गुरुवे अरसि निन्न बंदिरुवे गुरुवे रमण गुरुवे अरसि निन्न बंदिरुवे दीन नानु निन्ನಲ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆ ನೀಡೆಂದು ಚರಣ ಕಮಲದೆ ಬೇಡಿರುವೆ ಗುರುವೆ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೆ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ
ನನ್ನ ಪಾಪ ದಹಿಸುವ ವೇಳೆ ನೀನೇ ಆಸರೆ ತಾಳಲಾರೆ ದುರಿತವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋ ಕಣ್ಮರೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಹೊರತು ಯಾರಲಿ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿ ತೊಂದರೆ ಕಾಯುವೆ ನೀನು ಗುರುವೇ ನೀನೆ ಶರಣು ಎಂದರೆ
ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ ಗುರುವೇ ರಮಣ ಗುರುವೇ ಅರಸಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಂದಿರುವೆ मेरे पाप जलते समय तुम ही हौसला से न सको अब दुरितों को सब कर तू जला तेरे बिन मैं अब किससे मेरी मुश्किलें कहूँ पालक तुम हो गुरु हो तुम अब शरण ले बोलो गुरु है रमण गुरु है दूर तुझे मैं आया हूँ दीन हूँ मैं जो तुझसे ज्ञान भिक्षा पाने को चरण कमल में मांगा हूँ गुरु है रमण गुरु है दूर तुझे मैं आया हूँ दूर तुझे मैं आया तुझे में आया हूँ.
In the same style as Tirumanika Vajakar composing Tiruvambavai in praise of Lord Shiva, Muruganar Swami has composed 32 Tiruvambavais in praise of Bhagavan Ramana. Considered very auspicious to sing and contemplate during the Margazhi season, Muruganar Swami wakes us up from the stupor of ignorance and to realize the ever-presence of Bhagavan as self in all of us. Srimati Sulochana Natarajan has composed beautiful music and Chittaswaras to all 32 Ramana Tiruvambavais. We are presenting Tiruvambavai in Raga Beam Plus by Pratibha and Usha on violin.
நாம நீரிட்டதொரு நல்ல ஹழி மற்றமொரு நாம நீர்வானுகத்து நற்றுளையீர் கோத்தார் போல் நாம நீரிட்டதொரு நல்ல ஹழி மற்றமொரு நாம நீர்வானுகத்து நற்றுளையீர் கோத்தார் போல் ஏமமோரா காரிருளோமை ஏக பரந்தாமமா நின் ஸ்வரூப சந்நிதி கேஷேத்த அருளாமதனை அன்றினய பாதல் வியபாதல் மாமதுர வேங்கடவ மாட்டே நான் மன்னுயிர்க்கு ஏமமோரா காரிருளோமை ஏக பரந்தாமமா நின் ஸ்வரூப சந்நிதி கேஷேத்த அருளாமதனை அன்றினய பாதல் வியபாதல் மாமதுர வேங்கடவ மாட்டே நான் மன்னுயிர்க்கு ஸ்ரீமன்ஷை பொற்றாள் செழுங்காமொன்றொழிந்து காமங்கள் எல்லாம் கடியேலோயம் பாவாய் ஸ்ரீமன்ஷை பொற்றாள் செழுங்காமொன்றொழிந்து காமங்கள் எல்லாம் கடியேலோயம் பாவாய் நீ 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 ச சரி நீத நித சனித பப்ப பச நீ 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 ச சரி நீத நித சனித பப்ப மகம மகம பப்ப ம பனி நி பனி ச கரி கரி சரி சனி சனித ப ம பனித ப ம க க க ச க ம ப ம க ம நி ப ம கரி ச ம க ம பனித நித பத ப ம ப ம க ம க மாமதுர வேங்கடவ மாட்டே நான் மன்னுயிர்க்கு ஸ்ரீமன்ஷை பொற்றாள் செழுங்காமொன்றொழிந்து காமங்கள் எல்லாம் கடியேலோயம் பாவாய் ஸ்ரீமன்ஷை பொற்றாள் செழுங்காமொன்றொழிந்து காமங்கள் எல்லாம் கடியேலோயம்
Bhagavan says, our idea of self-surrender is nothing better than a worshipper pinching a little jaggery image of Lord Ganesha and offering it in worship back to Ganesha himself. We present a compilation of Bhagavan's answers to devotees' questions about what true self-surrender is and what it means to hand over our burdens to the Sadguru. The compilation is from the books Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi by Sri Munagala Venkatramaya and A Practical Guide to Know Yourself, Conversations with Sri Ramana Maharshi by Sri A.R. Natarajan. This will be presented by Jai Shankar, Subhadra, Sushila, Jai Shri and Dr. Mani.
Devotee, what is self-surrender? Maharishi, when frustrated externally and driven internally, we feel there is a power higher than man. The existence of the higher power must be admitted and recognized. The ego submits only when it recognizes the higher power. Such recognition is surrender or submission. Otherwise, the ego remains stuck up like the image carved on a tower, making a pretense by its trained look and posture that it supports the tower on its shoulders. The creature is powerless and the creator is all powerful. To entrust oneself to his care is the only thing left for him. Total surrender is the only way. Surrender consists in giving up oneself and one's possession to the Lord of mercy. Then what is left over for the man? Nothing, neither himself nor his possessions. Thus the self is realized and bliss results. This is then freedom from misery and gain of happiness. This is the highest good to be gained. Surrender is synonymous with bliss itself. Mr. Raghavaya, men of the world that we are, we have some kind of grief or another and do not know how to get over it. We pray to God and still are not satisfied. What can we do? Maharishi, trust God. Devotee, we surrender but still there is no help. Maharishi, yes, if you have surrendered, you must be able to abide by the will of God and not make a grievance of what may not please you. Things may turn out differently from what they look apparently. Distress often leads men to faith in God. Devotee, but we are worldly. There is wife, children, friends and relatives. We cannot ignore their existence and resign ourselves to divine will without retaining some little of the personality in us. Maharishi, that means you have not surrendered as professed by you. You must only trust God. If you surrender yourself to the higher power, all is well. That power sees your affairs through. So long as you think you are the worker, you are obliged to reap the fruits of your actions. If, on the other hand, you surrender yourself and recognize yourself as only a tool of the higher power, that power will take over your affairs along with the fruits of actions. You are no longer affected by them and the work goes on unhampered. Whether you recognize the power or not, the scheme of things does not alter. Only there is a change of outlook. Why should you bear your load on the head when you are traveling on a train? It carries you and your load, whether the load is on your head or on the floor of the train. You are not lessening the burden of the train by keeping it on your head, but only straining yourself unnecessarily. Similar is the sense of doership in the world by the individuals.
A Parsi gentleman asked, I am a novice in spiritual matters. A friend of mine advised that surrender to God is the best way. I have surrendered to God, but He has not enlightened me on the spiritual path. Please extend your grace. Maharishi, oh, you have surrendered, is it? How then do you say that God has not done anything? It only means that you have not understood the true import of surrender. You should place yourself completely at God's disposal and expect no return. The divine will indeed prevails at all times and under all circumstances. The individuals cannot act of their own accord. Recognize the force of the divine will and keep quiet. Each one is looked after by God. He has created all. You are one among 2,000 million. When He looks after so many, will He omit you? Even common sense dictates that one should abide by His will. If you ask Him to do as you please, it is not surrender, but command to Him. You cannot have Him obey you and yet think that you have surrendered. He knows what is best and when and how to do it. Leave everything entirely to Him. Such is surrender. This is bhakti, or inquire to whom these questions arise. Dive deep in the heart and remain as the self. One of these two ways is open to the aspirant. Devotee, now I realize that my understanding of surrender was defective. Please guide me correctly. Maharshi, you say that grace is required. Your coming here, expecting guidance, is itself God's grace. The same grace will continue if your surrender is total and unreserved. You need not ask anything. Try to get rid of the thought of I and mine. Don't feel anything is yours. It is all God's. That means you offer yourself to Him. So you cannot retain your individuality after surrender. You then abide by His will. Thus, silence is the highest of all achievements. Silence is the ocean in which all the rivers of all the religions discharge themselves. So says Ramana Maharshi.
A Maharani Saheba spoke in a gentle and low voice. Maharshi, I have the good fortune to see you. I am blessed with everything that a human being would like to have, but I do not have peace of mind. Something prevents it, probably my destiny. Maharshi, well, there is no destiny. Surrender and all will be well. Throw all the responsibility on God. Do not bear the burden yourself. What can destiny do to you then? Devotee. Surrender is impossible. Maharshi, yes. Complete surrender is impossible in the beginning. Partial surrender is certainly possible for all. In course of time that will lead to complete surrender. Well, if surrender is impossible, what can be done? There is no peace of mind. You are helpless to bring it about. It can be done only by surrender. Devotee. Partial surrender. Well, can it undo destiny? Maharshi. Oh, yes, it can. Devotee. Is not destiny due to past karma? Maharshi. If one is surrendered to God, God will look to it. Devotee. This being God's dispensation, how does God undo it? Maharshi. All are in Him only. Devotee. How is God to be seen? Maharshi. Within. If the mind is turned inwards, God manifests as inner consciousness. Devotee. God is in all the objects we see around us. They say we should see God in all of them. Maharshi. God is in all and in the seer. Where else can God be seen? He cannot be found outside. He should be felt within. To see the objects, mind is necessary. To conceive God in them is a mental operation. But that is not real. The consciousness within, purged of the mind, is felt as God. Devotee. By the desire to surrender constantly, increasing grace is experienced, I hope. Maharshi. Surrender once for all and be done with the desire. So long as the sense of doership is retained, there is the desire. That is also personality. If this goes, the self is found to shine forth pure. The sense of doership is the bondage and not the actions themselves. Be still and know that I am God. Here stillness is total surrender without a vestige of individuality. Stillness will prevail and there will be no agitation of mind. Agitation of mind is the cause of desire, the sense of doership and personality. If that is stopped, there is quiet. There knowing means being. Devotee. How can I get the help living 600 miles away? Maharshi. That Sadguru is within. Devotee. I want a visible Guru. Maharshi. That visible Guru says that he is within. Devotee. Can I throw myself at the mercy of the Sadguru? Maharshi. Yes. Instructions are necessary only as long as one has not surrendered oneself.
Devotee. Why do interruptions to my peacefulness come? Maharishi. You people are glad and grateful to God when the things you regard as good come to you. But you should be equally grateful when things you regard as bad come. That is where you fail. Devotee. For one's practice, is it not legitimate for one to pray to God to remove one's karma or to counteract it and hasten one's attainment of moksha? Maharishi. It is legitimate. As long as you feel that you are different from the higher power, pray to it. As long as you feel that there are burdens on you, pray in respect of them. But better still, attain prapati, the state of self-surrender and entrust your entire burden to the Lord, who will then take the burden off your back and give you the feeling that you are in Him and are one with Him. Devotee. People prostrate before God or the Guru to prove, I suppose, or at least to show their surrender. Maharishi. True surrender is the melting of the ego in its source, the heart. God is not deceived by outward acts. What He sees in the worshipper is how much of the ego remains in full control and how much is on the verge of destruction. Devotee. I must be enabled to surrender myself. Maharishi. Tayumanava has said, Glory to Thee for enabling me to discuss so much and follow Thy words so far. Sincerity is wanting. Surrender should not be verbal nor conditional. Passages from Saint Justinian were read out to illustrate these statements. Prayer is not verbal. It is from the heart. To merge into the heart is prayer. That is also grace. Alvar says, I was all along seeking Thee, but on realizing the self, I find You are the self. The self is my all, and so You are my all. Devotee. Impurities of limitation, ignorance, and desire place obstacles in the way of meditation. How to conquer them? Maharishi. Not to be swayed by them. Devotee. Grace is necessary. Maharishi. Yes. Grace is both the beginning and the end. Introversion is due to grace. Perseverance is grace, and realization is grace. That is the reason for the statement, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Only surrender to me. If one has entirely surrendered oneself, is there any part left to ask for grace? He is swallowed up by grace. Devotee. The obstacles are powerful and obstruct meditation. Maharishi. If a higher power is recognized and surrendered to, how will they obstruct you? If you say they are powerful, the source of their power must be held so that they do not obstruct you.
Devotee. Sri Bhagavan's answers do not permit us to put further questions, not because our minds are peaceful, but we are unable to argue the point. Our discontent is not at an end. For the physical ailments to go, the mental ailments should go. Both go when thoughts go. Thoughts do not go without effort. Effort is not possible with the present weakness of mind. The mind requires grace to gain strength. Grace must manifest only after surrender. So all questions, wittingly or unwittingly, amount to asking for Sri Bhagavan's grace. Maharishi smiled and said, Yes. Devotee. Surrender is said to be bhakti, but Sri Bhagavan is known to favor enquiry for the self. There is thus confusion in the hearer. Maharishi. Surrender can take effect only when done with full knowledge. Such knowledge comes after enquiry. It ends in surrender. Devotee. The knowledge of the Supreme Being is after transcending the individual self. This is jnana. Where is the need for surrender? Maharishi smiled and said, Quite so. There is no difference between jnana and surrender. Devotee. How is the questioner satisfied then? The only alternative left is the association with the wise or devotion to God, Satsanga or Ishvara Bhakti. Maharshi smiled and said, Yes.
We end our offering with a song in praise of Guru Ramana, composed by Sri Shiva Prakasham Pillai. Telugu translation is by Y. V. Venkateshwara Rao and the music by Dr. S. Rajeshwar Rao. This will be presented by Kamakshi.
జయము రమణ జయ జయ అని పాడరే, జయము రమణ చరణములకు జయమని కొనియాడరే, జయము రమణ జయ జయ అని పాడరే. మనసు నిలుపు విధుల తెలుపు పాదములకు జయం జయం. మనసు నిలుపు విధుల తెలుపు పాదములకు జయం జయం. స్వవిచార పథము చూపు పదద్వైకి జయం జయం. స్వవిచార పథము చూపు పదద్వైకి జయం జయం. జయము రమణ జయ జయ అని పాడరే. జయము రమణ చరణములకు జయమని కొనియాడరే. జయము రమణ జయ జయ అని పాడరే. భక్తజనుల పాలి కల్పతరువు రమణ ఋషికి జయం. భక్తజనుల పాలి కల్పతరువు రమణ ఋషికి జయం. అహము గొల్చి ఆత్మదెల్పు గురువరుణకు జయం జయం. అహము గొల్చి ఆత్మదెల్పు గురువరుణకు జయం జయం. రమణ మహర్షికి జయం. 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 గురువరుణకు జయం జయం. గురువరుణకు జయం జయం. గురువరుణకు జయం జయం.
Our immense thanks to Arunachala Ashrama and the team for giving us this opportunity to offer our presentation at Bhagavan's feet in today's celebration. We also thank Bangalore Ramana Center immensely for all the help rendered in today's offering. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.